Hello everybody and welcome to today's class on writing and graphing linear equations, which is still part of our Unit 3 on parallel lines. Our objective for today is we will be able to graph lines in the coordinate plane given the equations, and we will also be able to write the equations of a line, that is, if we are given their graphs in a coordinate plane. So let's talk about the three different forms we have for our linear equations. Slope-intercept form we talked about in our last class. Y is equal to mx plus b. M is our slope, and b is our y-intercept. And please note that I always circle the plus with it because it's always plus b, but then if b happens to be a negative number, that's when we see a minus in an actual equation. Okay, b can be a positive and negative number, and if we're adding the negative number in our equation, we see y is equal to something x minus some other number. Point slope form is very similar to slope intercept form. You may not have seen this before in Algebra 1. Y minus y1 is equal to m open parentheses x minus x1. So m is still in here. You can find it right here, and that is the slope. Now we don't have the y-intercept in this equation, but we do have information that will give us 1 point. That's what we need. We have the coordinate, the x and the y coordinate of some point that's on the line. So remember, we have a point. We don't know where exactly it's going to be. It doesn't have to be an intercept, but it has the coordinates x1 and y1, and that will help us to graph the line. And then there's, of course, our good old standard form that you have known from algebra. Ax plus by is equal to c. That one is a little bit more complicated to use for graphing purposes. There are two different ways we can do it. We can take our standard form equation and rewrite it in slope-intercept form, or we can also use some formulas involving a, b, and c to give us important numbers. C over a will give us the x-intercept, because a is the coefficient of our x. C over b will give us the y-intercept. And again, this is just review from Algebra 1. And negative a over b will give us the slope. Again, two different ways of doing this. I will show you again in one of the next examples how to rewrite the equation that's in standard form into a slope-intercept form equation. Let's move on to our examples. Graph the lines given in the equation. This first one is an equation in slope-intercept form, so I'm going to go ahead and just plug my slope, which is 2, and my y-intercept b, which is positive 3. In other words, this means that our y-intercept is at 0, 3, and I'm going to go ahead and graph. Starting with our y-intercept at 0, 3, I'm going to now find more points. Going up to 1 over, there's not a lot I can do here. Going further up, I can also reverse and go down to 1 to the left, down to 1 to the left, and that will give me some more points to be able to create a nice and straight line. And that's all I need to do here. Let's look at our next equation. This equation is in point slope form. So let's first get our slope. It's always in this place that we expect it to be. M is equal to negative 2 over 3. And We don't have an intercept necessarily, but we do have information for a point. We have the y-coordinate and the x-coordinate of a point. Remember, in your point slope form, both signs are negative, so we need to always flip the signs around. This means that the point that we are going to use here is the point with the coordinates -4 and +1. -4 for the x-coordinate, +1 for the y-coordinate. We go to the left 4 and up 1. That's our first point we're going to use, and now we're going to use our slope -2/3. We go down 2, 3 to the right, down 2, 3 to the right, down 2, 3 to the right, and we're ready to graph our line, and that's that. Let's move on to the next couple of examples. And what do we see here? We have an equation in standard form. So two ways to do this. Move our x term to the other side. Gives us 2y is equal to -x minus 4. Now divide everything by 2. Everything by 2, which is the coefficient of the y term. And that will give us an equation in slope-intercept form, which is y is equal to -1/2 x minus 2. This is an x, even though it doesn't look like one. Well, now it does. And now we have the slope. The slope is -1/2. And we have our y-intercept, which is -2. And we are ready to graph. -2 is our y-intercept. And now we go from there, 1 down, 2 to the right, 1 down, 2 to the right. And if you want to go to the left to get more points, you just have to reverse both things. In other words, 1 up, 2 to the left, 1 up, 2 to the left. That will give you your wonderful line. Now I'm going to show you real quick also the other method to find the points of interest that we need for graphing. Remember, I told you c over a will give us the x-intercept. C is -4. A is the coefficient of our x term, which is 1. So our x-intercept is -4. And guess what? That's exactly what we have here. We got c over b, which is going to be our y-intercept. And again, -4 this time over +2, which will give you -2. And this is this point. And our slope in standard form we will find by using the formula -a over b. In other words, -1 over 2, -1/2. And guess what? That's the slope. We also found the other way. Again, just two different ways to do it in standard form. Both of those ways you probably remember since Algebra 1. Let's go to our next example. And again, we have one of our special equations here. Y is equal to 3. What do we have? We really only have a y. And that tells us this must be hoi. And hoi means we have a horizontal line with a 0 slope. And, well, that's because we had the variable y in the equation. And the horizontal line crosses the y-axis. And therefore 3 is the point which is our y-intercept. Horizontal lines only have y-intercepts. And here's our horizontal line going through the point +3. Good job, you guys. Now go ahead and watch the second part of this tutorial.